And when you're in the woods, like you always, like when things are dark, you feel like you're seeing bears, but it never actually is,
Sure.
especially especially when you're a kid. Right. So I just remember being in there and I could hear like crunching and moving around me. I figured it was, it was just stuff, the usual stuff that moves around in the middle of the night. Right. Like didn't
Yeah.
really think anything of it. And then it started to get lighter, And I'm like, that's probably just I saw a little ball of darkness and I was like, that's probably just a tree that fell over. It's like the base of a tree. Right. And then just close my eyes again for another, 10, 15 minutes. And when I open up again, I'm like, the tree has moved. And I can definitely hear it crunching. Like it's moving closer to me now. So it's starting to get lighter, and I can make it out in my rangefinder that it's definitely a bear. It's moving, and I can at this point, he's slowly just kind of making his way through, eating those white acorns as he goes. I think he was actually going through like an old rotted out log, maybe looking for grubs or something. But I could hear him. He was about 30 yards away, and I could hear him crunching just as it was getting to the legal shooting lights. So I was all amped up. Just started going through some, just like relax myself, calm myself, because it's September, so it's the that's the first thing I'd hunted all year, so I was all jacked up, right? Hadn't had a great season the year before, so you only feel as good as your last shot, right? So I was very eager to reclaim reclaim a good shot on an animal. So definitely, probably should have waited, because it was we were in the shadows. And with black bears, I mean, you guys know, like it can be hard to judge exactly how they're orientated. And
Right.
I definitely made a mistake with that, because I was able to make him out clearly. It was legal shooting light. My peep was clear. My shot release felt good. But when I hit him, I was like, the fletchings didn't disappear. And the way he turned around and just barreled ass down the mountain, it didn't feel like as great of a shot as I was anticipating. So it seemed like he was kind of dragging a back leg or something. So gave him time. And my dad could hear the shot from where he was. The property's not that big, so he heard he heard the bear just barrel off down the mountain. So we gave him time. We went, we looked, we had good blood. Not great tracks, but he was dragging. He was just dragging everything behind him. The blood trail was really solid. Anytime he passed by like a branch or a tree, I mean, it was painted, but he wasn't dropping a lot on the ground, which isn't that crazy, because they've got thick fur.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he
And
was
that fat will close it up a little bit too,
absolutely. And I was using, at the time, I think I was using a Sever 2.0, which, the first couple of yards, because it's still a two blade, usually like the first 10, 20 yards, I don't get crazy good blood. And then it really opens up. So didn't really think anything of it, started getting more good blood. And then it just got really intermittent, and we were going for probably a couple hundred yards at this point down the backside of the mountain. And it hit a point where we hit this little like grass opening, just in the middle of the forest, and everything just stopped. Like there was no more trail, there was
Yep.
no more nothing, and we just started circling. We both, like, we never got negative. Like we never talked about, like, calling it quits or anything like that. Like we just felt really, really good for some reason. And in general, like we're not the type of family that'll just give up on an animal without like exhausting every possible effort. And it got to the point where, there was no more tracks, there was no more blood. But like buried in this tall grass was a pile of shit.
Mhm.
And it didn't, the only way for him to go, it was right on the edge of this, like, just gnarly, just overgrown bush and vegetation. And it's like, there's no way it chose to go right down the middle of this, right? Like it definitely went left or right, but there was no trail left or right. And it was about a couple of feet into this gnarly, just overgrowth, that we picked up the blood trail again. And we're literally like crawling through this. And then after that, we found a little mud hole where he had definitely bedded down for a little bit. And then we came over the edge, and there was this beautiful little river. And he was just laying there, right there in the middle of the river. And it was just this picturesque spot, like just beautiful, looked like Fern Gully that we were. And it was a murderous little hole to get out of. So we ended up, we couldn't get a Ranger or a 4x4 or anything back there to get it out. And we just had like little day packs, because we were, again, like,
Sure.
it's our property. Usually we can get an ATV within 100 yards of
You
when
can
we
get
shoot
far
something.
back. How far back were you in that?
We were probably a good 400 or 500 yards from where I had shot it. So it had dragged itself a good ways. And when we recovered it, I had realized that he was probably quartering away from me a little bit more. And he might have even been turned like so that his spine was, I guess, a little bit, it was almost more like a more vertical shot than I had thought it was. So I had actually hit him in the spine and it had deflected down, and the mechanical blades, luckily I had hit that artery that runs along the spine. So,
Yep.
I mean, he died pretty quickly, it seemed like, but he definitely, I mean, he dragged himself for a lot of the way.